Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Williamson County Coaches Preview Show. I'm Jack Daniels, your host, and with me for tonight's game are the head coaches at Page High School, Coach Charles Rathbone, and the head coach at Summit High School, Robert Keasler, Coach Scot Keasler.
Yes.
Coaches, welcome.
Thank you.
And let's start with last Friday night's game. Both of you played, and kind of give us a rundown of what took place. And Coach Rathbone, we'll start with you.
Well, pretty much we're still trying to catch David Lipscomb's running back. You know, we didn't stop anybody defensively, and we didn't contain him, and that was pretty much the story of the game. Offensively, we played pretty well. We moved the ball and was able to throw some on them, but defensively, we got to get a lot better. And, you know, we got to quit using that excuse that we're young and get better and step up and make plays. Until we do that, then we're going to be a very, very average team.
Well, I know a lot of points were scored last Friday night, but offensively, you got to be pleased with how your team moved the football.
Oh, I'm very pleased offensively, and you know, if we could do that week after week after week, we're going to win some football games. But probably most proud of our kids for not quitting. Never did they quit. They played to the very end, played hard, every single snap. Didn't always do the right things, but they played hard. And as a coach, that's really all you can ask for from your kids.
Well, I know looking at the stats, I saw where the passing yardage was over 500 yards. It's not every day you go over 500 yards throwing the football.
No, but it's also not every day that you throw it 67 times, and you know we threw it quite a bit, and that's kind of our game plan. That's what we do. That's what we're going to do on a weekly basis. But yeah, Zach had a pretty good night. We had 4 receivers right at 100 yards, and a lot of guys contributed. So I mean, you know, it was impressive, but you know, still ultimately we got to get better defensively.
You walked into a hornet's nest, I would call it, or a Mustang nest, simply because that was the first game in which Coach Mack wasn't there. Tell us a little bit about that atmosphere.
Well, I originally scheduled the game with Coach Mack. I mean, you were there when we were
sure.
talking about it, and you know, he didn't tell me he was going up and leave us like this. So I mean, he was a great guy, great man. So it was an honor to get to play in that game and honor him. He was really one of the legends. And our kids, and I told them, if you go into that environment, that atmosphere, and play in that type of environment, and play well, then you won't see anything like that the rest of the season. You know, it's a true playoff atmosphere, and it lived up to expectations. It was fun, it was exciting, it was everything that we built it up to be, and again, I'm just proud to be a part of it.
Right. Well, Scott, tell us about Spring Hill.
Well, we had a good night. Anytime you get a W, especially opening
Right.
up the season with one, you consider it a good night. You know, they're young, and they're their football coach is coming from Marshall County, or actually Marshall County, and then he was at Mount Juliet last year and got hired late. So, you know, it put a little bit of strain on them. He came in, they didn't get a chance to have a spring practice with him. You know, so that put them a little behind, and we understand that. But not looking at them, we've been looking at us. You know, as we talked about all week was, don't worry about Spring Hill High School, worry about yourself, worry about us as a team, and take care of Summit High School. And I felt like the kids responded to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, the end of the score was like 28-6 or
Yes,
28-7?
It's 28-6.
All right, so I know as far as game time, there's a little bit delay getting started in that
Yes,
game.
sir. Yes, sir. Had some lightning nearby. We never actually got any of the weather on the field. Now, leaving Summit High School, it got pretty rough. Almost knocked down some stop signs, trees blowing everywhere. I'm like, I hope this isn't a bad omen. But we got there, and it was too close. You know, we have those meters that measure how close the lightning is, and it was within 2.5 miles, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So it delayed us 30 minutes. Kids were antsy, very antsy in the locker room. I don't know that I've seen them like that. They just wanted to go play football. You know, we've been pounding on each other all fall, you know, up through the summer, and they're just ready to go play football. But the delay, luckily, didn't hurt us. I think we came out. It worked out well for us. We stretched and we played.
Right.
So.
I was going to ask you about the pregame type scenario, because when I got there, everybody was still in the locker rooms. I didn't know if you'd been on the field and went back. The officials took you off the field. They just held you up and didn't let you come out until everything was clear.
As soon as we got there, the coaches and training staff went and we unloaded. But at that point already it was popping. We got the kids directly in the locker room. Of course, I met with Coach Tershetta. He was going through his trainer and what they were saying, you know, when we could actually play. So we never actually got to come out on the field. Whenever we went out, it was about 7. You know, threw it around a little bit, did our tackling, stretching, and then we played football.
Right. Well, Coach, let's start with your assistant coaches. Go over who's helping you this year and what they're coaching for you.
We got John Dryden, who who's our offensive coordinator, works with the quarterbacks. James Boyette with the wide receivers. Samuel Ridley, who does our running backs. Jack Dinwiddie, who is our offensive line coach, does a great job. They all do a great job. Defensively, we have Kirk Embry, who does the defensive backs. He also works with our special teams as a special teams coordinator. Larry Heiss, who's our defensive coordinator. Brian Duncan, who coaches our defensive ends. Benji Coughlin coaches our defensive tackles. We split that up. I work with our strong safeties, and Steve Witt and Richard Lee work with our freshmen.
Mm-hmm. How many of those coaches on the varsity are actually in the building, being teachers?
I believe we have 5 now, counting me.
Okay.
So it's good to have, Dr. Farmer's done a great job of trying to get as many in the building to be around those kids during the day as possible. And of course, Coach Lee substitutes, so you may see him sometimes too. But so we have 4 and sometimes 5 guys in there beyond me.
Well, outside of your assistant coaches, how about some of the support staff? Like, who's your trainer, your managers, or the people else that's around the program every day on a daily basis?
If I tried to mention or list all our managers, I know faces and I know their first names.
Yeah, Water Girls.
My daughter,
yeah.
She helps, so I know her name. But we have several kids at the school that work and help us with filming, with the water, getting things together, keeping towels out there if it's raining. But Meg Stockham is actually our trainer, and I tell you what, you don't have to bother her. She takes care of her business. She does a great job for us. When kids need to be back on the field, she gets them back on the field, and when the kids need to be tended to and not go back in, I trust her completely.
Has she been with you all 3 years?
She has, yes, sir.
Well, that's a good relationship. You know
Absolutely.
how she works, and she knows what you expect out of the kids. That's good. Coach Rathbone, kind of go over your staff and who's helping you out there at Page.
Offensively, we got pretty much everybody back. Brandon Head, he does our quarterbacks. Miller Polk is our offensive coordinator. We hired Coach Witherington. He's on staff. He's our offensive line coach. And Coach White, he does our weight room and receivers, does a great job with them. We brought Jackie Bennett in as our defensive coordinator. Chris Grooms is back with D-line. Dan Harkins is our special teams coordinator and linebackers. And we brought Derek Pack over from the middle school to coach the secondary. So, and they all do a great job. I mean, they make my job pretty easy,
Right.
So I try to, like most head coaches, try not to screw things up too much. But, so we get in there and we do a good job with what we have.
Mm-hmm. Who's your trainer, Coach?
Leanne Schlichty is our trainer. She does a great job as well. I think all the trainers do. And what I'm most impressed with her, she is in constant contact with me at all times about, this kid's doing this, he's having these symptoms, this is what we're doing to get him ready to play, this is what we're going to do, he's got to sit out. Okay, I'll call mom. No, she's already called mom. She takes such a huge workload off of me by doing those things. And Dr. Fichtel is our team physician.
Mm-hmm. Coach Rathbone, while I got you going here, about how much time would you think that your players, since we're in the season right now, how much time actually in football do they spend a week?
With us as coaches?
Yeah, with you guys.
Probably about 11 to 12 hours per week with us. We'll lift on Mondays and Wednesdays. We started bringing them in at 6 o'clock in the morning and lifting on Wednesdays, so we have more practice time in the afternoon. And we generally, as a rule of thumb, go from 3 to 6 on a daily basis, and 3 to 5 on Thursday.
Okay. Thursday being your walkthrough for the most part.
Yeah, our walkthrough, and of course we'll hand out all of our equipment, our game equipment, jerseys and stuff on Thursday afternoon too.
Do y'all do anything special with the team on Thursdays, like, I don't know, dinner or something like that? Or you keep them after school from Friday? I mean, kind of give me a format on how the weeks goes for you right now.
Seniors have their dinner on Tuesday. We kind of took that from when you were there. You used to do that. They all get together, and the parent feeds them at their house on Tuesdays. And we keep them after school and feed them every Friday. So the whole team, freshmen, everybody eats together on Friday right after school. And then we'll keep them. We'll watch some film and go over special teams and kind of board work type things and to keep them busy.
Do you bring them in on the weekend, Coach?
No, we do not.
Scott, how about you? How much time is involved? Kind of go through a practice week for us.
I would say we spend about close to what Coach said, 10 and a half to 11 hours. Monday, of course, we play our freshman and JV games, and it's more of a preparation day. A lot of special teams we get in that day. We watch film separately, offensively first, and the defense will go out. If you're a two-way starter, you always stay outside pretty much. And then we'll swap and they'll come in.
Okay.
In the middle, we'll do special teams and all the kids are out there. But it's a little change we made this year on Monday that's really worked out well for us. Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll have, I think we spend on the field about 2 hours and 15 minutes, another 30 minutes in the weight room, and about 15 to 20 minutes watching film on Tuesday and Wednesday. Of course, Wednesday we finish a little bit early. I try to make sure they get to church and go spend that family time together. Thursday is more of, like Coach said, more of a preparation. Make sure the hay's in the barn. Make sure we can. We've been through our main practices, but make sure our special teams are ready to go. And then we'll finish with a 2-minute drill. Then we'll pass out our equipment for the next day. And Friday we eat as a varsity staff. Of course, the freshmen and JV on Mondays all eat together, pregame meal.
Now, since both of you have one game underneath your belt, did you exchange more than just one game? Did you guys exchange a scrimmage also on film?
We agreed just to exchange that first game film. And I think both of us, I'm not sure, but with us, he wouldn't have got as much special teams off of us in any of our scrimmages anyway. So.
Well, Coach Rathbone, give us a scouting report on Summit High School.
Well, I mean, the past couple of years, they've obviously been young, and now they got some guys that grown up. They're grown up quick. They're huge up front, very big up front. Play physical. I'm very impressed with the Merritt boys. They play very physical. D, I mean, how can you not be impressed with him? He's kind of carried the team last couple of years, but now he's got a little bit of help, with Refugee coming in from Centennial. He's a finisher at safety. He likes to come up and hit and finish off plays. You could tell that in the film. And and knowing Scot, it's always great to work with Scot and play Scot. We have a good time, and we kind of anticipate he's going to start blitzing us a little bit. So that's kind of what we prepared for all week is picking up blitzes and we could throw against coverage all day long, but we got to get better at picking up our blitzes and especially off the edge and things like that. So they got some speed and more speed than we got this year. We probably had more speed than they had last year. They definitely got more speed than we got this year, and they're well coached, and that's a big thing. So I mean, they execute.
Okay, Coach, give us a scouting report on Page.
I'd say the same thing. Very well coached, very disciplined. If anything, the other night, and I've told our kids over and over, I don't think they could have played a team with more motivation in the state of Tennessee, and Lipscomb played as near flawless of a game as possible, seriously. So I've told our kids, you absolutely cannot look at that. Page is a good football team. Heck, they know half the guys on that football team, whether going to church with them or growing up with them. But very well coached. The quarterback makes it go. He is a heck of a football player. They've surrounded, their wide receivers are very well coached up front. They take care of their business. Of course, the ball comes out of his hands so quick. Like Coach said, you can tell he's so well schooled in the passing game and coverages. It's extremely impressive to watch him run a football team. And defensively, I know he talked about being young. They're aggressive, and you could see that on film.
Right.
They just ran into one of those nights, one of those teams that had everything in the world to play for. A kind of a special moment for them, but they run to the football and they are very physical.
Now, Coach Rathbone, as far as game planning against Summit, now you've played Summit for the last 2 years, and like you said, they're young, and you've had some success against it. Is it difficult getting the kids over last Friday night's game and getting them ready and up to play Summit?
Well, no, not really. Kind of like what Coach Keasler said. They all know each other. They all know D and Refugee and the Merritt boys. So, I mean, they're ready to play, and they're excited to play the game. And so I don't think motivation will have anything to do with it. I don't think we always worry about, you get so up for one game, then the next week you have a letdown. And these are 16, 17-year-old kids. So you never know. You may have. But we've done everything we can to focus on getting better. Quit worrying about our injuries and our mistakes from last week, and let's focus on Summit, and let's improve ourselves. Let's do the right things, and focus on what they do and what we do, and we'll be okay.
Did you have very many penalties Friday night?
We had 4, I believe.
Oh, that's not bad at all for the first night. Well, Coach, on the other side of it, you've been on, I don't know, the losing end there for a couple of years,
Yes,
and I know it's very difficult on a Monday when the kids come in. It was a little bit different atmosphere, starting out 1-0, with the kids when they came in on Monday?
It was. There's more excitement, a little more life. I mean, that's in coaches and players. We are in charge. We're always in charge if we lose a football game and getting those kids back focused.
Right.
But we know as coaches it's still sometimes hard for us to get going because we just do not like to lose. So starting the season off with a win, obviously there was a little more pep in their step and in ours too. But the kids, I told them right after the game on Friday, enjoy it this weekend because when I see you on Monday, I know nothing about Spring Hill High School. It's time to move on to Page.
Mm-hmm. So do you go back and go over the game with them? Or you grade them? Your coaches do? I mean, how y'all work that?
We grade them out. Yes, sir. We use Huddle, and so the kids have an opportunity to go look at themselves.
Okay.
Kids normally are going to look at themselves and, that's it, and not look at actually breaking themselves down on film. That's where we come in, but we do grade our kids. It goes up on the board, so when they walk in there on Monday after school, they can see their grades. We actually have gone to some reward decals this year to put on our helmets to actually give them a little more motivation and incentive. But then we'll sit down and watch film with them on Monday as far as, things we need to improve from the game prior, mistakes we made. We're done on Monday, though. Tuesday it's Page film. Wednesday it's Page film.
Now, when you say grade the kids, is it like a ABC or is it percentage grade?
It's a percentage grade, yes.
Percentage grade?
Yes,
if they hit a certain number, then they get a decal?
Yes, sir. Or, big plays. We try to do it more as a unit and take away, and it's hard to do with, some of the runs and plays people like D made, so they do get rewarded for that. But we try to do things more as a unit. What did we do defensively? What did we do offensively? How did we do as a team or as a unit? And that's what we try to do. And in special teams, the kids will have another opportunity to get more decals. It also spreads the wealth a little bit, I think, that we grade things that way. So some of the kids on special teams that may not play as much, on offense or defense, got several of the little decals because of their performance on special teams.
Mm-hmm. Special teams, Coach, that's another big area. How are the special teams at Page this year? Who's doing that for you? I mean,
Dan Harkins, he's special teams coordinator, and they actually played really well, a lot better than we thought they would the other night. And we're like everybody else. We're not going to kick to the main player. At least try not to. Sometimes we go brain dead and we do it. But they covered well. We returned kickoffs pretty well. I mean, we got a lot of practice at it. We should be pretty good at returning the kickoffs. So I mean, overall he does a great job. And we do. He'll have. For example, this week he had Summit's roster on the board and everything they do, special teams that we've seen and who to watch out for and, a big star beside Refugee and D and some of those guys. And he's very organized, does a great job with it, has a great game plan going in. And kind of like what Coach Keasler was saying, we went to the awards thing too. And I've never been a big fan of that.
Right.
But these kids love any little trinket you can give them. They'll eat it up. And then so... we're going to start trying to do some of that as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as kicker and punter, is it the same kid, or you got different kids who's doing those responsibilities for
Mason Foley is our kicker and our kickoff guy and our place kicker. Zach Mizell is our punter.
Okay, so you're quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes me, Coach. If I'm going to be a little bit
dangerous, definitely
back there now when Mizell's back there punting that ball.
You have to be aware, and I mean it does. It keeps you on your heels because he can pick it up and sling it at any time. We used to do that when I was at Smyrna for those years. I was an offensive coach, but with Sonny Gray, and he'd just turn around and throw it. And here we are, 4th and 10, 4th and 12, and we gained 50 yards. So it makes it tough to prepare for. Having an athlete like that back there punting, if he punts.
I know you're kind of a defensive type guy, but do you keep a special eye on the special teams?
We spend a lot of time on special teams, and I think most head coaches do. And I have Coach Embry does a great job, and I rely on him a great deal. He's taken a lot of that pressure. My first year when I came in, my thing was, all right, I'm gonna I don't love special teams. It's not as exciting all the time for me, so I'm gonna stay back. And I think I spent more time dealing with the special teams. I couldn't help it. So Coach Embry has definitely taken that role on and does a great job. But it's my job to keep a focus and an eye on all areas of they coach. I'm not a micromanager, but I do have my eyes on every part of the game.
Mm-hmm. Same with you, Coach. Do you kind of oversee everything and let your coaches coach? Or are you involved in one side of the ball more than the other side of the ball?
Well, I try to oversee everything too, but I do trust my coaches. I'm definitely more involved offensively than I am defensively. But kind of getting back to Zach punting, we don't have any fakes in. So, I mean, no, you don't have to worry about that. I mean,
Don't look for it tonight,
Yeah,
Coach.
yeah.
Don't
But,
worry about fake punt tonight then.
but I really am blessed with a good staff that, you know, they take care of their business, and you know, I do keep an eye on it, and they run everything by me. I try not to micromanage. You know, nobody wants to coach under a micromanager. So I try not to micromanage her, but I do know what's going on with the program at all times.
Mm-hmm. Well, Coach, outside of their quarterback, Mizell kid, who else did you guys need to kind of stop for tonight's game in order to have a chance to win?
They've got, and they spread the football out, and that's what we've talked about this evening. We're going to have to definitely keep an eye on all the receivers. They have one kid, Coach, I can't remember his number, but he's a big old kid, and he's probably their main kid they get the football to, and has a bit of a height advantage on either one of our corners. We're not overly, tall there, but we've got to stop the quarterback, the passing game, the 4 or 5 receivers they spread the ball to. The running back is not a bad football player either, and like I said, defensively they fly around. So we're going to have to block well and tackle well, and I think that's what football is. It's been difficult since we've been doing this to prepare for Coach and his offense and defense. Very well prepared football team every time we play them, so we've got our work cut out for us.
Right. How many seniors do you have starting, Coach?
I think we have 13 on the team.
Okay.
And so I believe 8 or 9 of those guys are actually starting for us. We have quite a few juniors also that start. And of course, your rotation is normally going to be at the wide receiver position is where more of our kids rotate in. But yeah, I think we have 13 this year.
So how many two-way starters do you have, or do you have any?
Oh, we have a few, mainly in the skill positions.
Right.
Philip Sherry, Joseph Refugee will play both ways. We have done a pretty good job splitting our line, but Brian Tyrell will play quite a bit of defensive end and also offensive tackle for us. Cade Vassey will play some running back and some linebacker. And then Stephen Schreiner will play some receiver and also some defensive back. So several guys, more of the skill guys, I think is normal, not having a whole lot of depth because we do not have a whole lot of depth. But, quite a few, handful of two-way players, I'd say.
Coach, I know I talked to you earlier that you're a pretty young football team, but how many seniors you have starting on your team?
We have 3 that are starting on offense and 3 that start on defense, and probably 2 of our better defensive players, they were out last week, so hopefully they'll be back. So I mean, when they come back, unless something happens I'm not aware of, they're going to be competing to start too. So we could have as many as 10 starting on defense and 9 on offense.
Underclassmen.
Underclassmen, yeah.
Right. As far as the two-way starters, how many do you have right now going in?
Well, what we had last week, we had 3 or 4, if I remember right, and kind of the opposite of Summit is ours were linemen. We just have a huge lineman problem. What we have is not bad linemen; they're just not big. We're just not a big, and that's that goes into the whole running the spread and that kind of stuff.
Sure. Did you have any problems with heat and cramping last week?
No, not really. We had 1 or 2 guys that cramped up. Zach started cramping up, but he played through it. So I mean, when you're throwing the ball, they're not going to come off the field no matter what happens. So I mean, but overall, I was proud of them. Seemed pretty hydrated defensively. I mean, they weren't on the field enough to cramp up. I mean,
they did a lot of running though, Coach.
They did a lot of running. But and I'm harping
102 points total in the game. There's got to be a lot of going up and down, kickoff returns, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of running going on in that game.
Yeah, and our defense, and I would say this about our defense: when they get there, they will hit you.
Yeah,
they will hit you. I'm very proud of them about that. They're not as scared to hit anybody. They had a 230-pound running back, and our safety, all 175 pounds of them, lit him up.
Right.
But we just got to be better executing wise. We just got to be in position. And I have faith in my guys. I believe they'll be there.
So what are your big keys then for tonight's victory?
We have to be in position. Stay in position. Don't be a hero. If you got outside contain, don't jump back inside trying to make a tackle. We got pursuit coming. And offensively, just execute. Run what we do. Zach's got to hit his check downs. He's got to see that linebacker's coming, dump it down, and run. Get the ball to our guys in space, and hopefully just don't be overly anxious to make a play. Just take what they give us.
Right. Scott, what's the keys for you guys to victory tonight?
Obviously, I think it's going to be keeping the football, trying to control the football. You don't want them to have it. because they tend to keep it and score points when they do have it.
Okay.
And just you know, the same things you normally say as a coach, but it really is, and we harp on it all the time. We can't have turnovers and we can't have stupid penalties. You know, we're going to make mistakes, and we realize that. But those are the things. You know, we had 9 penalties the other night. If there was anywhere, you know, I was a little disappointed. It was the amount of penalties we did have, and we've got to cut down on those things. And like I said, try to control the football, block and tackle. You know, I thought we swarmed to the ball as good as we have since I've been at Summit High School the other night, and we tackled well. They have guys, obviously, not a shot at Spring Hill, that are going to be much better in space, and a quarterback with a cannon that's going to get it to him pretty quick. So reacting to that ball when it comes out, it's not going to be hanging in the air. It's getting to the receivers and then giving them an opportunity to make plays. They do a great job of that, getting those kids out in space and actually trying to figure out where they're going half the time. Their routes are so effective, it messes with you in coverage a little bit. So, you know, minimize the penalties and just no turnovers. Don't let them have the football, or let their quarterback have the football. That would be the goal tonight as we go into this game.
Well, outside tonight's game, I know you guys are not in the same district this year. Coach, who's the team to beat in District 11 AAA?
It's so hard to say. You know, I would say Brentwood's always there. They're, you know, I've coached against them several times, and they're always the one that you got to look to knock off. Always have good-looking kids. Always have good numbers. You know, I don't know that there's ever a really, really high profile special athlete, but they're all pretty dadgum good.
Right.
Always big, strong linemen, and Independence this year, obviously, with those kids that can run. I think they have an opportunity to compete for the district championship also.
Right. Coach, District 12 AA.
CPA. It's amazing how they lose so much every year, and then just randomly kids just show up and they're just as good the next year. So CPA, and you know, they beat Brentwood the other night, so that says a lot for them.
Right.
And of course Giles. Giles has been the big dog in our district for a couple years now, and they got a lot coming back. So we got to, you know, we got to just get better at what we do, you know, and we'll be able to compete later on down the road.
Right. Do you tweet, Coach?
No, I do not.
Coach?
No, I don't even know how to even begin to do that. My daughters, and you know, they're old enough, they do all that stuff. No clue.
All right. Well, gentlemen, good luck tonight. Wish them both have the best. Everybody stays healthy, and then you can guys move on forward to your district games the next week.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us. Tonight's game is at Summit High School, starting at 7 o'clock, Coach?
Yes, sir.
7 o'clock at Summit. Page, going to Summit. I'm Jack Daniels, your host. Thank you.
Homework. It's either something you love or you hate, right? Well, research shows that a reasonable amount of homework is actually good for your child. It helps them practice the skills they've learned at school and build a sense of responsibility. But how can you keep homework from being a battleground at your house? Try some of these tips. First of all, be sure your child has a quiet place to work and be sure that place has a good lighting. Make sure there's a regular homework time at your house every day. Even if your child doesn't have homework, that time can be used for reading, studying for upcoming tests, or working on a project. Be sure your child has all the supplies she needs in one place so that time is not wasted looking for those supplies. Be available for questions. You may even want to go over some sample questions at the beginning, but remember, homework is your child's responsibility. Be sure to encourage her to do the homework independently. Keep track of the time your child spends doing homework. The general rule is 10 minutes per grade level. If your child is consistently unable to do the homework by herself or spending more than the recommended amount of time, it may be time to talk to your child's teacher and find out how you can help make the most of her homework time. Remember to stay connected. You're a vital link in your child's success. I'm Steve Fisher, and this is the Parent Connect.